Now, before I get started talking about these 5 steps that you need to take to successfully return to work after a long employment gap, let me just say this. Not only have I experienced it myself, but other people are getting ready to experience it with the state of the job market. So, this is something that people should start anticipating due to layoffs and acquisitions and mergers and all of these things that are happening, the election, so on and so forth, and the uncertainty in the economy. So even if you haven't experienced this yet, it's good to start thinking about what needs to happen 6 months from now or a year from now if you find yourself with an employment gap. You would think companies would be more understanding, knowing the state of the market, but it's very competitive. So keeping it real with you, they're not. So I'm going to show you how to prepare for it, what you need to do to make sure you're set up so you can move right back into the job market when those interviews start popping again. So first off, set your resume up in a chronological format. Don't use a functional format. A functional format is a skill-based style resume. Chronological, of course, is the order of your work history from the time you started working up until now. If you have a longer work history, of course, the last 10 years will do. The reason why the functional format isn't the best is because, first off, as soon as a recruiter or a hiring manager sees this style of a resume, they're anticipating either a gap or that you don't have a lot of work experience. Most importantly, the applicant tracking system reads resumes like a book. So from the upper left-hand corner to the lower right-hand corner. They're looking for the order of your work history. So they're looking for a specific format. If the format's off, you could find yourself getting overlooked, and we don't want that, right? So it's best to just keep the gap, add the dates of the employment gap, which leads me into the next step. Employment gaps are pretty common, and they're going to be even more common moving forward. So there's no need to try to cover it up or feel bad about it or keep it a secret. Matter of fact, a survey published last month revealed that almost 70% of workers have had some sort of employment gap during some period of time. And out of that 70%, almost 40% had to do with family responsibility. So as I mentioned, as more people get laid off in this crazy market, you're going to see more of it. Now, here's the hard truth. Depending on your previous experience or how long the gap was, you may have to start in a job not paying as much initially, or start out contracting or freelancing. I know no one wants to hear that because it sucks, but there may not be a way around it right now. And I'm not going to give you the whole glass is half full speech because it may get better as time moves forward, but that's not going to help you today. So I want to make sure that I'm giving you the right answer right now and not, hey, it's going to be okay a year or two from now. A, we don't know that. And B, the point is to get some income coming in right now so that you can get into the job you want later. So like I mentioned, look for some freelancing work on Fiverr. You'll be surprised at what skills you already have that others don't, or they don't feel like implementing right now because they don't have the time. That would be one thing if you took a 6-month gap as a data analyst or a product manager, because those jobs are more in demand right now. But if you took a few years off, say you were administrative assistant or something like that, and you took a few years off, then it may be a little more difficult for you to find a job right away because a lot of people have those skills and there's not as many jobs to match all the people who have that skill set. So definitely don't want to be a Debbie Downer or anything like that. I just want to make sure I keep it real so that I set your expectations when you start looking for a job. So this is why it's helpful to make sure you're in touch with other professionals or other people in the know during your time away from work. Now, let me just say this. This is much more difficult for somebody who's caring for someone or somebody who has their own medical conditions. So if you are in one of those situations and you're in an interview, don't be afraid to mention it. Just briefly mention it. You don't have to give them any specifics of your medical issue or your family member's medical issue or anything like that. Briefly mention it. Then you can go right into highlighting the problems you can help the company you're applying to solve. And if you can come up with brief, actionable solutions in the interview, even better. But when talking about those things and those specific gaps, if you don't have any skills that you've learned throughout that time frame, briefly talk about the gap, and move right on into what you can do for the company in the future. Finally, just be confident. This will be challenging because you'll feel out of the loop and you'll feel like you've missed out on a lot. The only person who should notice that you're not confident during the interview process is you. So I talk about brushing up on jargon in my career switch video. Having the answers to those basic questions memorized will give you the confidence to answer any other questions you may not see coming. There's always a curveball or two in an interview that you can't prepare for, and that's okay. That's by design, but it's not by design to harm you. The hiring manager wants to hire you. That's why they brought you in. So think about that as well. That's another thing that can help you to stay confident is that they're not trying to weed you out. They really want to hire you. They just want to make sure that you confirm it. So when you're breezing through those basic questions and you feel more confident, you'll start to sit up straight, you'll be more clear-minded, and you'll avoid stumbling over your words. You'll also avoid using filler phrases like and you know. I had an interview, this was years ago, but I had an interview with some company and I can't even remember who it was, but they asked me a question. I wasn't really prepared for the interview. I think I was overconfident and I thought at the time I could just nail it. They asked me one question and it was a curveball, whatever it was, and it messed up the whole entire interview. I started rambling. I don't even know what I said, to be honest with you. I just started rambling, and I basically like messed up the rest of the interview because I was talking and I didn't even know what I was saying. Obviously, I didn't get a call back. It was so bad. If I even did get a call back, I'd be surprised and I'd question the company. But yeah, I definitely screwed up that interview. So don't do what I did. Make sure you prepare the answers to those basic questions ahead of time. Make sure you have your story prepared, and all will be well. That's all for now.